I also have no interest, though, in being bullied into releasing information that is personal and private.
This morning on Inside Kansas Politics, SNAP under attack once again. The Trump administration now threatening to pull funding if its conditions aren't met. What they're asking for and what this could mean for the future of the program in Kansas. Plus,
destroys trust in between the community and law enforcement.
It creates lone wolves.
A rise in violence against law enforcement officers could signal change on Capitol Hill. How Kansas is responding after several officers died in the line of duty this year.
And the water crisis is one of the top issues for Kansas lawmakers next year. How they're planning to keep supply from running dry. But first this morning, SNAP is on the line once again. You're taking a look inside Kansas politics. Welcome in. I'm Rebecca Chung.
I'm Rob Hughes. Glad you're here. Well, the administration is threatening to withhold that money used to administer SNAP benefits as early as next week. Now, a USDA spokesperson says it's only the administrative funds that could be withheld and not the SNAP benefits themselves. Well, the White House wants states to turn over information, including immigration status, on their SNAP benefit recipients.
In February of this year, we asked for all the states for the first time to turn over their data to the federal government to let the USDA partner with them to root out this fraud, to make sure that those who really need food stamps are getting them, but also to ensure that the American taxpayer is protected.
Well, federal law does allow the USDA to withhold some of the money states receive for administering SNAP if there is a pattern of noncompliance with certain federal regulations.
And the White House is leaning on that regulation in hopes of getting states to turn over the information it wants. And Kansas Governor Laura Kelly says she's torn as the White House raises the pressure. We're going to bring in our Capitol Bureau reporter Braden Day now.
Yeah, Braden, this all comes as SNAP funding is at risk for Kansas. Well, how's the governor responding to the new threats?
Yeah, Rebecca, Rob, Governor Kelly tells me it's put her in a tough situation. To recap, back in February, the Trump administration asked all states to send in the personal data of all who receive SNAP benefits. Kansas is among 22 states who have refused to submit the data, claiming the request is illegal and unconstitutional. Now, the USDA intends on punishing these states by withholding money needed to manage the SNAP program. We spoke with Kelly about this, who tells us she is currently working with her legal team to determine what to do about this.
I have absolutely no interest in people going hungry. I also have no interest, though, in being bullied into releasing information that is personal and private. I'm in a tough situation here. I've got to protect people's privacy. I also have to protect their dining room table.
Now, this isn't the first time the Trump administration has threatened to pull funding. Back in September, the USDA sent a letter to the governor notifying her that they would be withholding more than $10 million in SNAP funding. However, Governor Kelly appealed this decision, and the money hasn't gone anywhere yet. Now, the feds want the personal information to root out fraud in the SNAP program. They're giving states until Monday to comply. Reporting in the studio, I'm Braden Day.
All right, Braden, thanks. And we're going to bring in Bob Beatty now. And Bob, this isn't the first time we've seen this. As we said, the government shutdown was the first time. So here we are once again, SNAP hanging in the balance. The administration right now saying this isn't going to affect benefits, but potentially it could, right? When they pull that administrative funding, what could happen?
Well, yes, it's very complicated. And what we have here is the governor, we just heard, is trying to protect personal data. What she fears and what I think 20 odd other states fear is that the Trump administration would not just use it for rooting out fraud, but could give it to other agencies, and then the data is spread all over the place. So you have a privacy versus a federal power argument here. Now, here's the key. Here's the key to this, is right now there's a judge that has put a stay on the Trump administration from actually stopping SNAP benefits that go to people. So people that receive SNAP and need it to eat, they will keep getting that. Now, what we're talking about here is administrative funds. Now, Kansas is sort of lucky, you might say. It's a relatively small state. I did find some data that in 2020, Kansas spent about $30 million in administrating the SNAP program. Now, you might say that's a lot of money, but keep in mind, on this show, we've talked a lot about tax cuts over the last couple of years. Hundreds of millions of dollars in tax cuts, which is wonderful. What I'm trying to say is that Kansas probably has the money, not probably, it does have the money to administer SNAP on its own. It doesn't want to do that. One other factor is that the feds pay half of the administrative costs. So Kansas paid $30 million in 2020. That's going up to only 25% for the feds in 2026. So it's going up anyway. So Kansas is going to have to pay more anyway. The takeaway for all this is for Kansas, it can afford to go through this process, whereas other states like Florida, well, let's say California or New York, hundreds of millions of dollars could be withheld. A real crisis for them.
And in those states, it could potentially affect benefits, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, where are they going to come up with
right.
several $100 million to administer the program? Really, it's the administration of the program, meaning offices might be closed. And in SNAP, you have to reapply every 6 months. If the office is closed, you can't do that. I think this will be very interesting and how it plays out because, again, there's a court case going on as we speak, and we'll have to, so a lot of this will play out in the courts as well.
And Bob was at a local food bank the other night, and executive directors are very concerned about what's going to happen. So if you're Governor Kelly, do you continue this course of action of withholding the funds, or what if you capitulate? I mean, as you know, Bob, I mean, the governor is out next year, but what do you do if you're Governor Kelly?
I think it really depends on if that, let's say $30–40 million can be covered legally, and if the governor can do that, she very well may stick with these 20-odd other states who are challenging this desire for the information and see if she can hold out by finding that money to administer the program, if it is actually taken away. Well, now we know Donald Trump going from Russia to states, he's the mayor of New York, he may say one thing one day or a week before, and it could be part of a negotiating tactic. So we'll have to see if this is a real thing or just a threat.
All right, Bob, thanks so much. Violence against law enforcement officers is on the rise across the country. How lawmakers in D.C. are responding.
And what that could mean for officers in Kansas. We'll be right back. You are watching Inside Kansas Politics.
At the Sweet Tea, every scoop is homemade and crafted with love. Flavors that bring back memories and new ones you'll never forget. Come find your favorite today. Crafted for our community, powered by service. Proudly veteran-owned.
These are real people seeking solutions to real problems.
I have plantar fasciitis.
Pain with my feet, my knees. Feet, knees, hips, and back.
And then they were fit with Good Feet arch supports.
I definitely feel the heel-to-toe walk.
I'm not feeling any pain, especially in my heel. That's where I always feel it.
I don't feel the knee pain. I didn't notice any pain in my back. I feel like I could walk all day in these.
Oh, you're a blessing in disguise.
Try them for yourself with a free arch support fitting at the Good Feet store.
Huddle up, homeowners. At Messler Roofing, Siding, and Windows, we're not just about improving your home, we're about protecting it like a champion. Our dedicated team, along with our fun-loving mascots, are here to defend your home against the blitz of hot summers and cold winters. Whether it's top-rated roofing, energy-efficient windows, or durable siding, we've got you covered. Messler Roofing, Siding, and Windows. One call, one name, one trusted team.
Car, truck, and motorcycle wrecks don't just happen during the day. They can happen late at night or on the weekends. Call Patterson Legal Group 24/7 to start getting the help you need now. In a wreck, need a check? Call 431-0000.
Enter the 27 KSNT Home for the Holiday Sweepstakes for your chance to win a national prize of $15,000. Go to ksnt.com to enter. 27 KSNT Home for the Holiday Sweepstakes is sponsored by these fine sponsors.
Should we tell them?
Nope, not yet.
Don't do it yet.
It's a brand new Kelly with me.
From Pluribus, Ray Seahorn, plus Chris Daughtry. Next Kelly.
Monday at 3 on 27 KSNT.
Welcome back to Inside Kansas Politics. A week after 2 National Guard service members were shot in Washington, D.C., lawmakers on Capitol Hill hosted a hearing on violence against law enforcement officers.
And those assaults have been on the rise, including 4 Kansas law enforcement officers killed in the line of duty this year. Inside Kansas Politics Washington correspondent Kristen Eskow shows us the causes and potential solutions.
Serious national security concern.
Members of the law enforcement community appeared on Capitol Hill to sound the alarm about the rise in violent attacks. FBI data shows assaults on law enforcement officers reached a 10-year high in 2024.
It's just disgusting to see the destruction and the complete pushback on the rule of law.
Officers who fear for their safety or the safety of their families cannot perform at their best.
The discussion comes a week after the shooting of 2 National Guard members in Washington, D.C. The National Sheriff's Association's Jonathan Thompson called on lawmakers to tone down their rhetoric against law enforcement.
It doesn't motivate your base. It doesn't make more donors give you money. It creates lone wolves.
I don't think any of us here denigrate any law enforcement officer. But in every occupation, there are standards that you have to adhere to.
Democratic lawmakers question some law enforcement tactics, like ICE officers wearing face coverings. D.C. Metro Police Officer Daniel Hodges expressed concern that
it destroys trust in between the community and law enforcement.
Others argue the face coverings are meant for the officers' protection. The law enforcement groups also called on Congress to pass stronger protections for law enforcement officers, including new federal penalties for assaults. On Capitol Hill, I'm Kristen Eskow.
And back here at home, a Kansas Highway Patrol trooper is out of the hospital after last weekend's shooting in Carbondale. Adam Ellis is the fourth and last law enforcement officer to be released from the hospital. Kansas Highway Patrol troopers escorted him home, where he will continue his recovery. And Ellis, along with 3 Osage County Sheriff's deputies, were in a shooting with Stephen McMillan outside the home. McMillan died at the scene. Another resident of the home was hurt. And coming up tonight on 27 News at 10, right here on KSNT, I sit down one-on-one in an exclusive interview with KHP Superintendent Eric Smith. And we talked about Ellis's recovery and the shooting's impact on the agency. All right, I want to bring back Bob Beatty now. And Bob, what can happen here in Kansas after incidents like this? I think we can all agree public safety is a bipartisan issue, but obviously it's not that simple. Now, what resources can we give law enforcement to keep them safe?
It should be bipartisan, of course. Now, just to step back, it's always been a dangerous job to be in law enforcement, going literally back to Wyatt Earp trying to clear out Tombstone, the Bonnie and Clyde days, and even bizarrely, maybe today on social media too, sort of making romantic heroes out of the bank robbers and those who oppose police. But it's always been one of the most dangerous professions, along with the military forces, that one can enter. So the question is, what can society do? What can government do? Understanding, hey, you're entering a very dangerous job, but in a free society, America's not an authoritarian society. That's why really we don't want our law enforcement masked. We don't want them to be the enemy, kicking down doors, most of the time, right? So there has to be this free relationship, which makes it dangerous. So what can the Kansas legislature do? What can the federal government do? They can always increase penalties. If there's doxing going on or attacks on law enforcement, make sure that those are very severe penalties. But I would argue, check to make sure that these officers are being paid well, that they have good benefits, that if they're going to sign up for a very dangerous job, that they're valued and rewarded. So again, Kansas is doing pretty well financially. I know down the road there's some ideas that there's going to be some trouble with the budget, but I think one thing in the spring that the Kansas legislature can do is look at those salaries. I know a couple years ago they increased the KHP salaries. What about other salaries of local law enforcement, for example? So make sure that those officers know, hey, we know it's a dangerous job, but that they're being valued. And one way, let's be honest, is to compensate them, for what they deserve. And that leads me to our next question, because law enforcement has always struggled with staffing. So when we see a rise in violence like this, how could this impact recruitment and retention? And could we see this become a top priority for lawmakers next session? Well, yeah, I mean, the bad news is the ambushes have increased, which probably due to social media, which is sad, we know, but there's copycats, and also, it becomes trendy among some weird people, let's be honest. The good news is that attacks on police officers are actually down, 5% from last year and 23% from 2023. That was a really bad year. So I think these ambushes are a problem. I know, Rob, you and I talked about it a bit earlier, how to stop those specifically. We talked about possibly sharing more resources about when police go out to a call, what are they walking into? In terms of the backgrounds of the individuals that may be at the house. So I think right now the big rise really is these ambushes, because other attacks, luckily, are a bit down in the past couple of years.
Okay, so when it comes to recruitment and retention, we could potentially
Well,
see
you know,
some
an odd thing is that with all the ICE activity, of course, and the anti-immigration push by federal law enforcement, they've actually been offering bonuses and then taking some officers from local law enforcement, like counties, who just can't pay, you know, as much. So that's a bit of a problem. We can't, you know, if we're here in Kansas, we really don't necessarily want to see the feds stealing a good local sheriff, for example. So that's why I think maybe we have to look at, make sure we're compensating our law enforcement at a level where they'll stay in their jobs.
All right, Bob, thanks so much.
All right. Well, Kansas lawmakers are returning to the Capitol soon on one issue that could impact every corner of the state.
Why the water crisis is topping the agenda and what's at stake if nothing changes. We'll be right back. You're watching Inside Kansas Politics.
Calling all fans. It's kickoff time. Make Vern's your first stop for cold beer, ready-to-mix cocktails, and fan-favorite spirits before the game. Vern's Retail Liquor. Game day made easy.
Proudly second-generation, veteran-owned.
Congratulations, Jennifer Antonetti, this month's Everything Woman honoree, for being a hometown musician, mentor, trailblazer, and for helping shape the sound of Topeka's future.
Everything Woman, sponsored by Sharp Honda, Topeka ER and Hospital, and Washburn University.
Aw, come on! Leftovers are for quitters! That's why the Black Friday Super Sale at Denver Mattress has been extended. And for a limited time, the more you buy, the more you save. Take $100 off every $1,000 you spend and watch the savings stack up. Or get a $300 gift when you purchase any Tempur-Pedic. Save up to $400 on Doctor's Choice Elite adjustable mattress sets. Plus 60 months no interest financing and free shipping. But hurry, the extended Black Friday Super Sale at Denver Mattress ends soon.
Here's what you know. You were injured in a crash involving a big truck.
But here's what you don't know. While you're trying to recover, the trucking company is already taking steps that could hurt you and your family.
Combing the crash site, talking to witnesses, coaching their drivers, trying to shift the blame away from them and onto you.
And if that sounds bad, what comes next could be even worse.
Let our team protect you.
Truck crash? Call 888-8888.
Mom, did you order something online?
No, I don't think so. I don't do that.
Thousands fall victim to Medicare fraud each year. Educate yourself and loved ones on these schemes and keep yourself and your information protected.
I'm sorry, ma'am. Medicare states that you've already reached your claim limit for the year.
Pay attention to your Medicare claims. Senior Medicare Patrol can help you prevent, detect, and report healthcare fraud. Call us today at 1-800-860-5260.
Welcome back to Inside Kansas Politics. Kansas lawmakers will be back in session only a few short weeks from now, and many Kansans are wondering what will be their top priority in January.
Yeah, well, of course, the state's water crisis tops the list of issues they want to address. Now, right now, people across the state are facing issues with water. In the eastern part of the state, reservoirs used to supply drinking water. They're now filling up with sediment. Well, that means fresh water is getting harder to come by. Also, the Ogallala Aquifer in western Kansas is drying up as well, and some communities have as little as 25 years until their water supply runs out.
And earlier this year, the governor established a task force to address these issues. We caught up with a lawmaker on this task force who says people can expect to see some action next year.
You'll see some things. We do have a water committee, so you'll see a few things come out that'll continue to make progress. And I think we'll have those discussions as we do, and then more legislation will come out of the water task force. I've said for the last 2 sessions, now will be 3, that water is the top priority for the Kansas legislature and for the citizens of Kansas. I'm glad the governor's come along.
Well, the task force is expected to give a report to the governor's office in January detailing how the state should address the water crisis.
Bob Beatty back with us now. And Bob, when we talk about the reservoirs filling up with sediment, this becomes an issue that's bigger than rural Kansas. It's extending to eastern Kansas as well. Lawmakers on both sides saying they're going to make this a top priority next year. But could we see barriers in how aggressive they should be on their policy when it comes to this issue? And could this likely pass or have an impact, whatever solution they come up with?
Oh boy, could we see barriers? Yes, that's the problem. I mean, the problem with water is it's a very, in Kansas, a very, very local issue. And so there's all these different agencies, and there's water boards, and there's district water boards, and there's a history in Kansas of Kansas legislators and the farmers we will oversee how we use our resources because we know best how to do that. And there's a lot to that. But there's an argument that through the 1940s to the 1980s that Kansas gave out way too many water rights, and there's over 5,000 farms that take up 2/3 of all the water in the state. And the new farm bill coming out of Washington, D.C. is pushing crops that add to the sediment that's leaking into those reservoirs. All this is to say to your question is if the state steps in and starts saying, hey, you can't do that here, or hey, this crop is doing this, yeah, the barrier is going to be people in Kansas at the local level saying, don't tell us what to do, and yet we have this big crisis with water. And so it's a big issue, but I think the reason it hasn't been addressed is because Kansas politicians know, oh my gosh, this would be a real headache to get this through, and it's just really, really tough work, but it has to be done. And yes, starting in this spring. And one other quick addendum, it probably will cost a lot of money.
Well, it's complicated, so this might be a tough one, Bob, but what would be maybe the first step towards trying to get stronger reforms that can apply to everybody?
Well, there's been an argument there needs to be more state involvement. That means instead of maybe all these different entities sharing the responsibility for water, the legislature, the governor, the water board, whoever, that maybe there's one or two agencies, so more efficiency in the system. And then there's a lot of confusion about the regulations at the local level. Does the state get involved in actually putting in regulations? So that basic question, who's in charge of water policy in Kansas? That may have to be decided. Maybe the legislature has to say, hey, here's who's in charge of water. There's going to be a lot of pushback on that, obviously, because people don't like to give up that local control, especially to the feds or the state, right? But maybe that is something they'll look at. I'll be really interested. Is this something that actually happens in the spring? Or do they punt for a new governor, right? And say, new governor, it's first thing. Now we really got to solve the water conference because this will be Laura Kelly's last year.
All right, Bob, thanks so much. And when we come back, Santa came a little early to the capital city this year.
He did. His special delivery for the governor and what's at the top of her wish list for next session. We'll be right back. You're watching Inside Kansas Politics.
Attention women veterans. Do you want free help applying for VA healthcare and veterans benefits you earned? The Kansas Office of Veteran Services has women representatives on site ready to assist you. Help is just a click away. Contact the Kansas Office of Veteran Services.
At Wainwright Eye Care, our experienced team of optometrists is here to keep your vision sharp and healthy. From comprehensive exams to the latest lenses, our experts provide care for every member of your family. Trust the Wainwright Eye Care team. Schedule your appointment today.
From the moment you enter the drive, you'll know that McCright Plaza is a unique community. Not only have we designed a gracious atmosphere, but we have created an environment for peace of mind. Hi, I'm Cassidy McCright. On behalf of the entire McCright family, we invite you to come and see what great living is all about. For more information, visit our website at mccrightplaza.com.
Your table awaits.
That ground means passion in your glass and a whole lot of love on your plate. Blind Tiger, always brewing up something great. Blind Tiger, always brewing up something great. Blind Tiger Brewery and Restaurant, 37th in Kansas.
Good morning, sunshine.
I said get up, sunshine.
Monday, from Avatar, Fire and Ash, Sigourney Weaver, plus Mark Hamill.
Monday at 11 on 27 KSNT.
Attention women veterans. Do you want free help applying for VA healthcare and veterans benefits you earned? The Kansas Office of Veteran Services has women representatives on site ready to assist you. Help is just a click away. Contact the Kansas Office of Veteran Services.
2-1.
The state capitol is celebrating the holidays. The governor flipping the switch on. This year's Christmas tree is now in the Capitol building.
It was designed by a local volunteer, Troy Spain, and this year's tree is 18 feet tall and paying homage to the Sunflower State. It has a sunflowers and stars theme. And the governor also getting a special surprise from Santa just in time for Christmas.
He did. He stopped by the governor's mansion with an early present, and Governor Kelly also shared what's on her wish list this year. Santa has come early this year to help deliver a Christmas tree to the governor's mansion, with help from the Kansas Forest Service and the Kansas Christmas Tree Growers Association.
It is really nice to have this sort of pop-up Christmas done for me. It wouldn't look like this if you were relying on me to do it.
The event highlights Christmas tree growers here in the Sunflower State every year. This year's tree making a 30-minute trip from Strawberry Hills Farm in Lawrence.
It's a natural product and an ag product here in Kansas, and just glad to have the growers that are providing this service and providing those families opportunities to go out and to have that family time and have a real Christmas tree in their homes.
And as for Governor Kelly, Christmas time means it's almost time to get back into the State House for a new legislative session. Kelly says one of her top priorities for next year is water. Earlier this year, the governor created a task force to address ongoing water challenges. In the West, she says the state is dealing with dwindling groundwater in the Ogallala Aquifer. Some communities only have less than 25 to 50 years left before it runs dry. And in the East, reservoirs that provide 2/3 of Kansans with their drinking water are filling up with sediment. That means they may not have enough water in the case of a drought.
I think what I want the legislature to focus on most this year will be the water issue. That is something that we've got to tackle, and it's a big issue. It's going to be challenging to come up with a solution, but they've got to do that if we are ever going to really resolve our water issue.
The 2026 legislative session is scheduled to begin on January 12th.
All right, Bob Beatty back with us now. And Bob, as the governor gets ready for next year's session, what are some of the other items on her wish list and what actually has a chance of passing?
Oh boy, you're giving me tough ones.
That's the question, right?
On the wish list, I think always, especially the last couple of years, it's economic development. And I think that also answers your second question. Economic development is one of those issues that the governor has been able to work with the legislature. They got that stadium deal, remember, passed in one day and she signed it. Panasonic deal, there's lots of others. So I think that's the one area that the governor can work on, continue to work on, and have the legislature be with her. On the other end, where the legislature will not be working with her, is why she will be playing some defense. A Democratic governor in a Republican state in Kansas, the governor usually is being that check on the legislature. They don't like it very much with redistricting or possibly some type of tax cut she doesn't like she has in the past. She'll be issuing some vetoes. So the governor probably, she argues that one of the reasons she was reelected was to be a check on the legislature, and that's probably what she'll continue to be doing. But I do think there's some room for cooperation on things like expanding broadband, rural development, and economic development.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you, Bob, on that point. I mean, what more wins can she get? If you're the governor, you're about to go out, do you put it in cruise control? Do you really try and get some, maybe work with, the bipartisan legislature? What do you do?
I think early on, a few years ago, in her first term especially, she thought something like Medicaid expansion was going to be a possible legacy, but now it's definitely looking like economic development. Needless to say, if the Chiefs or the Royals come, that will be something that will go down in history. The legislature and the governor will share in that. And we're still waiting. I think that's going to sort of be one of the biggest announcements either way that we see in all of 2026, if it ever comes, right?
Maybe we get them both, Bob.
Hey,
you never know.
Crossed.
You never know.
How long have we been waiting?
Well, Santa's coming to town.
That's right.
All right, Bob, thanks so much. And that was your look inside Kansas politics. If you want to keep up to date on all things Kansas politics, then follow us on social media. Follow us on X at InKSPolitics and on Facebook. Just search Inside Kansas Politics.
And we're also going to post the full video on YouTube. Just search for KSNT News and be sure to check out Inside Kansas Politics on KSNT.com for past episodes. And if you have a story you think we should cover, let us know. Just email us at ikp@ksnt.com.
We'll see you right here, same time, same place. Have a good day.